Hello friends, welcome to Download. In today's lecture series we are going to discuss section 354 of IPC, including section 354A, 354B, 354C and 354D. Section 354 talks about assault or criminal force to be man with intent to outrage or modesty, and section 354A talks about sexual harassment and punishment for sexual harassment, and section 354B is assault or use of criminal force to be man with intent to disrobe. Section 354C is voyeurism. Section 354D is stalking. So let's read the Bare Act language, what the Bare Act language says. So section 354, assault or criminal force to be man with intent to outrage her modesty. Outrage her modesty. So whoever assault or uses criminal force to any man intending to outrage or knowing it to be likely, that he will thereby outrage her modesty shall be punished for the imprisonment of either description for a term which may not less than 1 year, and it can be extended up to 5 years. Means here the punishment of assault or a criminal force to be man, here punishment is defined like 1 to 5 years. It is entirely dependent on the discretion of the court and the nature of the case. So outrage of modesty, if any man tries to outrage the modesty of any woman and trying to assault any woman by uses of criminal force to like that, then he shall be punished with imprisonment of not less than 1 year, but it can be extended to 5 years. And here one case is Raju Pandurang Mahale versus State of Maharashtra, all in their record 1004. So basic ingredients of the assault or criminal force to be man with intent to outrage her modesty. So here the ingredients is what constitutes an outrage to female modesty is nowhere defined. The essence of matter, the reaction of the man is very relevant, but its absence is not always decisive. Modesty in this section is an attribute associated with female human beings as a class. It is a virtue which attaches to a female owing to her sex. So the act of pulling a woman, removing her sari, coupled with request for a sexual intercourse, so in such as would be an outrage to the modesty of a woman, and knowledge the modesty is likely to be outraged is sufficient to constitute the offence without any deliberate intention having such outrage alone for its object. Okay, so as indicated above, the words modesty is not defined in IPC. So this is all about the case Raju Pandurang Mahale versus State of Maharashtra. Remember the basic ingredients it provided here about assault or criminal force to be man with intent to outrage or modesty. So come to section 354A, sexual harassment and punishment for a sexual harassment. Subsection 1, a man committing any of the following acts. Acts is here defined in clause 1 to 4. First clause is physical contact and advances involving unwelcome and explicit sexual overtures. Second one is a demand or request for a sexual favor. Third one is showing pornography against the will of a woman without consent of a woman, showing any content which is pornographic content. Okay, then it is also a type of offense. Fourth one is making sexual colored remarks, shall be guilty of the offense of sexual harassment. So subsection 2, any man who commits the offense specified in clause 1 or clause 2, clause 1, clause 2 and clause 3 of the subsection 1 shall be punished with a rigorous imprisonment for a term which may extend to 3 years or with fine or with both. Means subsection 1, clause 1, 2, 3 means these 3 clauses where the punishment is up to 3 years, rigorous imprisonment of 3 years, and fourth one is where punishment is making sexually colored remarks, where the punishment extends to 1 year. Okay, 1 year. Where the in subsection 3 it is defined any man who commits the offense specified in clause 4 of subsection 1, clause 4 of subsection 1, okay, shall be punished with an imprisonment of either description for a term which may extend to 1 year or with fine or with both. Section 354B, assault or use of criminal force to be man with intent to disrobe. Means a man who assaults or uses criminal force to any woman or awaits such act with intention of disrobing or compelling her to be naked. Okay, means trying to disrobe or compelling her to be naked shall be punished with imprisonment of either description for a term which shall not be less than 3 years. 3 साल से कम का सज़ा नहीं है इसमें, किसी महिला को डिजरोब करना या उसको नेकेड करना, तो इसमें 3 साल का सज़ा है, उसको कंपेल करना, ओके तो इसमें 3 साल का सज़ा है एंड इट कैन बी एक्सटेंडेड to 7 years and between 3 to 7 years means it depends upon the discretion of the court and nature of the case. Voyeurism, any man who watches or capture the image of a man engaging in a private act in circumstances where CUD usually have the exceptions of not being observed either by the perpetrator means accused or by any other person at the behest of the perpetrator or disseminates such image. Here the disseminate means to spread the image or to spread on the WhatsApp through any social messaging media through like that. Okay, so disseminate such image shall be punished with the first conviction with the imprisonment of either description for a term which shall not be less than 1 year, which shall not be less than 1 year. Okay, but which may be extended to 3 years means the punishment is defined 1 to 3 years here. Now and shall also be liable to fine and fine. So and be punished on a second or subsequent conviction. और उसी तरीके से second conviction में not the second in the second conviction like that with the imprisonment of either description for a term which shall not be less than 3 years but which may extend to 7 years means again if you are doing this act then the punishment shall be not be less than 7 years 3 years and which may be extended to 7 years. ओके 3 साल से 7 साल के बीच में होगा सजा और ये डिस्क्रिप्शन कोर्ट के डिस्क्रिप्शन पे डिपेंड करेगा. सो एक्सप्लेनेशन इज हियर. फॉर द पर्पस ऑफ दिस सेक्शन प्राइवेट एक्ट्स इंक्लूड्स an act of watching carried out in a place which in circumstances would reasonably be expected to provide privacy and where the victim's genitals posterior or breasts are exposed or covered only in underwear or the victim is using a lavatory or the victim is doing a sexual act that is not of a kind of ordinary done in public. So these acts, these are the things which is mentioned here like private acts like carried out the place where circumstances would be expected to be provided like privacy related where the victim genitals, posterior, breast. So these are the things which should not be captured. Okay, so any man who watches or captures the image of like that. So explanation second is here where the victim consents to the capture. Suppose that victims gives the consent of capturing the image of like that any genitals, posterior, breast or any like that. Okay, where the victim give the consent to the capture of the images or any acts but not to their dissemination. Means consent is given of capturing image but it doesn't mean that it is to spread the information through the social media or to the public. Okay, so here the dissemination to the third persons and where the such image or act disseminated, such dissemination shall be considered if information is spreaded through social media then shall be considered to be an offense under this section. Okay, come to section 354D that is stalking. And stalking, any man who follow a woman and contacts or attempt to contact such woman to foster personal interaction repeatedly despite a clear indication of disinterest by a such woman. By the side of the woman it is the clear disinterest. Okay, and despite of that उसके बावजूद भी वो उसको फॉलो कर रहा है means they are trying to contact her, trying to attempt to contact such woman to foster personal interaction repeatedly. Okay, first clause. Second clause is monitors the use by a woman of the internet, monitors her by the use of internet, by the email or any other forms of electronic communication, by way of any other forms of electronic communication, etc. and etc. where he can monitors the woman. Okay, commits the offense of stalking provided that such conduct shall not amount to stalking if the man who pursued it proves that, provided that such conduct shall not amount to stalking if the man who pursued it proves that first one is it was the pursuit for the purpose of preventing or detecting crime and the man accused of stalking has been entrusted with the responsibility of prevention and detection of the crime by the state. Okay, by the there is some exception. It was pursued under any law or the comply with the condition or requirement imposed by any person under any law. Okay, in the condition imposed. Third one is, in the particular circumstances such conduct was reasonable and justified. Second one, whoever commits the offence of stalking shall be punished with the first conviction. First time if any person committed the offence, then under first conviction with the imprisonment of the description for a term which may extend to 3 years, and shall also be liable to fine, and be punished on a second subsequent conviction with the imprisonment of either description for a term which may extend to 5 years, and shall also liable to fine. Okay, so thanks for watching. This is Nandan signing off.